What's up, guys? Welcome back to the AC Unit.
No, I'm in a goofy ass mood.
What's up, guys? Welcome back to the AC Unit. And today,
We'll be doing our Dawn FM rankings, 1 through 13, but we will exclude the intro track, the outro track, and the interlude.
all right. So Corey and I have our own personal list of the rankings of the songs from Dawn FM.
And we will have a second list, which will be a statistical list, which will combine our two personal lists, and we will kind of get into that at the end of the episode.
All right. So we're gonna go down by track list from the album. So the first song we're gonna start with is "Gasoline." Now, what do you have it ranked as on your list?
I have Gasoline ranked 5th on my personal list.
Really, I have it as fourth.
Yeah, so pretty close there in the rankings. Why did you put it at 4th?
Well, it's a song at first I was very iffy on. I'm sure a lot of people were like that, including you, just because of his low registered vocals at the start. And I don't know, it just kind of grew on me. Like, it's just, I love it when he comes into that chorus so smoothly. His vocals are just nice. And even the lower register vocals, like, that we don't hear from Abel ever, they just, like, they surprise me. They're entertaining. It's something new and it's something nice. I really like the concept behind the song, just severing the past ties from his life, and I just like the song a lot compared to the others.
Yeah, personally for me, this definitely wasn't a song that I liked really that much at first. If I had to do a ranking off of first listen, this would definitely be towards the bottom of my list. But as I kind of listened to it the next day and the next couple times, it's definitely a song that really grew on me, and it showed me how versatile The Weeknd's vocals are. And I think 5th is a pretty good spot for me on my personal list. So
Oh yeah, I definitely agree. I feel like I don't think it'll go up for me from here on out. I think this is a good placement for it. I think the other songs that are above it for me are just amazing Weeknd songs.
yeah, I agree. I mean, this is as capped out as I think I'd put this song. Just compared to the other songs on this track, but 5th is a pretty good spot to
Definitely.
be in, especially for a song that both of us really didn't like at first.
All right. So I think we're gonna move on to the second track or third track on the album, technically, or second track for the video. "How Do I Make You Love Me?" Now, Corey, where did you have this placed?
I had "How Do I Make You Love Me" ranked 8th on my list.
Really, I had it at ninth. We're pretty similar in it.
Very similar there.
So, what is your reasoning?
Definitely a good vocal song, I would say. Definitely caught my eye vocally.
Yeah.
But as far as overall, I just didn't think it could go any higher than 8th. I mean, this album's so good, start to finish, and I'm not hating on this song at all, but I think the vocals were enough to put it where it's at now. But
Yeah.
I think 8th, kind of middle of the pack, is where I decided to put this song. And yeah, why did you put it where you put it?
Yeah, so I put it at ninth mainly because it has those, like, I mentioned it in the podcast. The Weeknd has like this not low pitch, but kind of high pitched nasally voice that I'm not really a big fan of. The reason why I have it so high mainly is because of the production. The production is just beautiful, mind blowing. That transition into the first chorus from the first verse, that like breakdown part of the production, it just blows my mind every time. I love listening to that, and comparing it to other songs on this album, I don't think it's as great, but I still think it's a good song. Like, I'm not gonna hate on any song from this album because I think this album's just absolutely amazing. So having "How Do I Make You Love Me" at ninth isn't like a bad thing at all in my opinion. I think it's still a good song. Just vocally, it wasn't definitely my favorite Weeknd track.
Yeah, and it just goes to show, it's probably one of my favorite songs vocally on the whole album. It just goes to show how great this album is, having it in the middle.
Oh yeah,
Um,
definitely.
But so going on to track
Track
would be number 4.
number four, it'd be "Take My Breath." Technically, we're gonna do the extended version, but either or would work. So yeah, I had "Take My Breath" at number 2.
Oh,
What do you have it at yours?
I had it 4th.
Really? Okay. I want you to explain why.
So it's up there for me. This was the extended version. Was like we said, we're gonna talk about the extended version, not the single version. But
Yeah.
at first, I thought there wasn't really a purpose and a place for the extended version. I thought, man, I just want to kind of get into it, kind of get to his vocals and
Yep.
all the verses. But again, another song where I kind of went on and listened to it a few more times through, and the extended version really grew on me because it really gave you that build up into the verses and the choruses. And I mean, lyrically and vocally, this is a top tier song on this album. I don't think I could put it in the top 3 with my top 3, but fourth is definitely a good spot for this song, especially how good it is lyrically. So tell me why you put it as your second.
Yeah, so I was in the same boat as you. I really didn't like the extended version at first. I thought it was just really drawn out. I thought it was just, club filler track. Not a filler track, but it was just there to add more length to a playlist. But as I listened to the extended version more instead of the single version, I really loved just that amazing build up, that production, just the anticipation that you get from just listening to that build up. Then you get to that first verse, and it just feels so nice. And I personally think it's one of The Weeknd's better songs,
Oh,
especially
100%.
especially from like his newer age of music, like this '80s vibe. I feel like it compares with Heartless, Blinding Lights. I feel like Take My Breath is the Blinding Lights of this album.
Yeah.
I personally think that, and just his falsetto voice in the chorus it's absolutely beautiful. Not many people can hit that shit, so I really enjoy listening to his vocals like that. Just It's just a great song. Like, I personally love it, and especially the extended version now. I absolutely love listening to it. Definitely more than the single, which I never thought I'd ever say because I crapped on it in the podcast. So
I definitely think Take My Breath. Your second, I can see why you have it second. I personally put it fourth, but I can definitely see your point why you think it's one of, if not one of the best songs on the album, and it can be compared to some of his better songs in past albums. So
yeah, definitely. All right, so I think we're done with Take My Breath. We move on to number 5, Sacrifice. Now, Corey, where did you place Sacrifice?
this is actually a song that I had higher up on my list,
Yeah.
and it kind of fell down my list as I went on and listened to it a few more times. I have this ranked 9th on my list.
I had it at 8th. We have a pretty similar list. It feels like.
God damn it, we need to start beefing.
We need to start debating, getting each other's heads, dude.
But yeah, I mean, I think we see so far how level-headed we are with these songs so far. Kind of explain why you had it at 8th.
Yeah, so like you said, I kind of liked this track at first. I didn't really love it, especially after listening to the full album and comparing it to everything else. I didn't think it really competed. It grew on me just a little bit, but I don't think it's one of the best songs on the album, but it's still pretty good. I mean, like the lyrics behind it and the meaning of the story and kind of how it fits into everything. It's a pretty nice track. Production wise, I'll be honest, I don't like it as much as many other tracks on here. So that's kind of what holds me down a little bit. And the vocals aren't anything crazy, but I just really like the lyrics. I really like the lyrics he puts out there and how he talks about how he doesn't want to sacrifice anything for this girl, or it could be taken as the media or like anyone else. I just really like it, so that's why I have it at 8th.
Yeah, I definitely think it was a very relatable song in terms of the lyrics. For me personally, I don't know how you felt about it lyrically in terms of how you related to it, but I thought it was a very versatile song with how he uses his pitch and his voice, and I think it's still a great song. I mean, you're not gonna have any bad songs on this album.
Definitely.
But I think where we have it kind of in the middle of our pack is pretty accurate for the whole entire album.
All right, so we're not going to be doing A Tale by Quincy, which is track 6. So now we're on to track 7, Out of Time. Now I'm very interested to see where you place this one.
I have this as my number 1 track
Do
on the
you
entire
really?
album. This is the best song in the entire album, in my opinion. Where do you have it?
I have it at number 3,
Okay.
and I wanted to explain why. I don't think it's the best track on the album. I'll just start off with that. I still think it is an outstanding track. His vocals I've never heard them it's so fucking good. His vocal performance is amazing. The lyrics, the production, it's great. But having it at number 3 kind of, put some shade on me, for you especially. I really do like the track. I still do. But my number 1, I just really can't see them interchanging. I can't see 3 through 1 interchanging ever. I think that's my final list. Out of Time is a great song. And originally I had it really high up there. I had it as my number 2. But just listening to it more, I can kind of see how it would fit for number 3 for me. Now, why do you have it at number 1?
I mean, first of all, I think vocally in the chorus, it is literally the best chorus I've ever heard from The Weeknd. I mean, I've listened to this over and over again ever since it dropped, and every single time it's just been even better every single time. And I mean, I really think what makes it stand out from other songs, if you look at the whole concept of the album, it's about him trying to get away from his old self. He's trying to better himself. And I think this is the breakthrough song. This is where he finally is like, you can only control what you can control. He's finally like, word for word, he says, I can't keep you from loving him. You made up your mind. I think he's finally coming to terms with he can't control some things in his life, and he's finally going to move forward. And, I mean, if you look at it from the end, the transition to the next song is perfect. So, I mean, you literally have from the first second to the last second just like 3 or 4 minutes of just pure perfection in my eyes. And I think that's enough to put it at number 1 for me. I can see why you have it at number 3.
Yeah. But let me say one more thing. Conceptually, this fits perfectly into the album.
Yeah.
That's one of the reasons why I have it so high. I mean, like, this album is an amazing story from start to finish. And this song, it's just like, he's coming to that realization. Like, he's getting there. Like, you know, it's a great track overall. I really do like it. I think 3 is a good placement for me, though.
Yeah, and I think it's perfect for the whole storytelling. Like you said, having it kind of in the middle at track number 7, he's finally getting there, and I think this is the breakthrough. And on top of that, just the vocals. I think this is his best vocal song ever, and
that's saying a lot. That's saying a lot. That might be saying too much, though.
Well, coming from a guy that hasn't listened to The Weeknd like you have,
yeah,
that could maybe play a part, but
best vocal song you've heard from him, and that's still really good because you've heard a lot of good songs from him. You know, like The Hills, Can't Feel My Face. All of those songs are amazing vocally wise, but this song I can see that, yeah, for sure.
Yeah, so that's why I have it number 1.
Anything else to say on Out of Time?
Let's get into the next one.
All right, this one might be interesting for you. I don't think you know where I might place this, but we have number 8. Here We Go Again. Now, where did you place it at?
This is a song I think we both agreed was one of the top 4 or 5 tracks originally. And as I went on and listened to it over and over again, it's just not that good to me. It really isn't. I have it at track number 10 for me on my list.
Ooh.
I have it 10th. That may be surprising to you. I bet you probably have it a little higher.
I do.
But I just feel like the more and more I listen to it, I just didn't like it like I did originally.
Yeah, well, for me, I had it at number 7, and originally it was in my top 4. I really did love this song, and I still love Tyler the Creator's verse. I still love the slower paced track. I love like the build up into it, like where we have Jim Carrey talking about slower paced track. Here you go. You know, it's really good conceptually wise. The story, the song, and like where it fits into the album. It's right after Out of Time, where he kind of comes to that realization with this old girl that he's talking to. Now he's talking to a new one. He's kind of going through it over again. But, I mean, vocally, it's not bad. It really isn't a bad Weeknd song. I just I can't compare it to the songs above it because, you know, I don't think it's as amazing as the songs above it for me. So
yeah, I think the more I listened to it, I expected more out of Tyler the Creator. We kind of really didn't get that much of a verse out of him, I think.
I still thought it was good. I mean,
yeah,
definitely.
It was definitely good. I'm not hating on the song at all because this album's pretty good all in all. But
yeah,
the more and more I listen to it, I just feel like it fell down my rankings. And I kind of expected more out of Tyler the Creator, especially with him being one of the only features. And I feel like we could have got a longer verse out of him, but we just didn't.
Yeah, and there's complaints going around there. His voice and his like persona, same thing. Lil Wayne, they just don't fit the album, and he kind of just had them in there. This is Tyler and The Weeknd's first collaboration track, and when it's a first track like that with 2 big artists, you kind of expect it to be huge, but I didn't really see too much out of it once I started listening to it more. I mean, it's a nice slow jam, like I said, but I can't see it being higher than what I have it.
Outside of having the name Tyler the Creator on the album, I feel like you could have went without that feature.
Oh, yeah, definitely. Despite how good I thought it was, you know. That's why I have it kind of higher than you do, I bet.
Yeah.
But, yeah. So, is anything else for Here We Go Again?
No, sir.
All right, moving on to number 9. This is one of your favorite tracks originally, Best Friends.
This I have at number 3, probably right where I had it originally and where I have it now. So, that really hasn't changed. I feel like I've had that kind of at 2 or 3 the whole time. I just think personally, if you want to give your ranking first before I dive in.
Yeah, definitely. I have it number 5,
okay.
And this is a track I really did like at first. It was in my top 4, top 3, definitely. But it kind of fell off a little bit. I still like it. Like, don't get me wrong, I absolutely love it. But if you want to dive in first, you can go ahead and do that.
Yeah, so first and foremost, the beat, the production on this whole song was amazing.
Oh, it hits you as soon as you go into the song. It's crazy.
I mean, he doesn't mess around. He gets right into it with that.
Especially after a song like Here We Go Again, a slower paced song, and you kind of get this upbeat, boom, boom.
Yeah, it gets you back going again, especially after a track like that.
Definitely.
And then it really transitions into the next song perfectly. So you really get a whole length of really good music in this track. And then lyrically, it's a great song as well. Talking about the whole overall concept of the album. And I feel like it puts me in a really good mood. I mean, I feel like it's a very easy song to listen to, and it's probably one of the more enjoyable songs to listen to for me. And as of now, I have it third. It may go up. It probably won't go up any higher. Personally, it may drop as I listen to it a little bit more. But as of now, I have it third.
Yep, and I do respect that. I like that decision to put it third there. But I think we're done with Best Friends, so we're gonna move on to number 10. Is There Someone Else? Now, what's your ranking for the song?
I have this second. So this is the song I have in between Best Friend and Out of Time.
Man, I'm surprised. I had it number 1. I didn't think you liked the song as much as I did.
Really? Yeah.
This is my favorite song from the album.
So personally, outside of that transition to start the song from Best Friend to Is There Someone Else, originally I didn't really like the song that much.
Yeah. Did you feel it was underwhelming a little bit?
Yeah, I mean, especially for how it transitioned, I felt like it was going to be the best song on the album.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
At first, it was definitely a little underwhelming. But it is hard to follow a transition like that.
Definitely.
But yeah, as I went on and listened to it in the days after, it was definitely a song that grew on me. And as I kind of caught a grasp of what it meant lyrically and conceptually, I thought it was just better overall that I could start piecing together who he was talking about and what he's talking about overall.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that played a big part of why I put it number 2. And then anytime you can have a transition like that, it's going to be up there anyways. That was really one of the better parts of the whole album for me. And then lyrically, like I said, it really grew on me once I listened to it for the third and fourth and fifth times. So yeah, second was where I put it. Why did you have this as your number 1 song? And why do you have it over songs like Out of Time, Take My Breath, and Best Friend?
Yeah, I absolutely adore this song, and it really starts with the production. The production really reminiscent of to me at least, it sounds like a lot of his old stuff, but with that 80s kind of feel, and he kind of merges those two, absolutely perfectly. That little vocal melody at the start you hear from that transition. First of all, that transition was probably the best transition I've heard from an album, song to song. Absolutely beautiful. Then you get into that vocal melody I was talking about. It's like you're listening to it in heaven. That's what it feels like, dude. Then you get into his verse, and he starts out with a bang. He starts out with a high note. It's just a really chill song. That chorus is insanely catchy. It's stuck in my mind. It's been stuck in my mind ever since I listened to the album. And I remember watching a trailer for this album, and I heard that production. I was like, that's it. That's the
song.
That is the song. I knew it already just hearing that melody, and it really didn't disappoint for me. First listen, I loved it. It was my favorite off the albums, still, and it still is to this day. And I absolutely love this song, dude. His vocal performance is beautiful. He's really smooth with his voice, the lyrics and the concept. It's absolutely perfect, and that's why it's my number 1.
So where did you have Out of Time again?
I had number 3.
And your second was
Take My Breath.
Okay, so I mean, our top 4 or 5 are pretty consistent. I mean, a little out of order, but I think for the most part, we both kind of agree on what the best songs of the album are and what aren't the best songs of the album. But
I might surprise you a little bit, actually, with that one, with the worst songs, because mine have changed. So we got number 11, Starry Eyes. Now, where'd you rank this one, Corey?
This is a song that I thought was borderline one of the worst songs first listen. And
same here.
It's another song that grew on me throughout the upcoming days of the album release. I had it ranked 7th on my list.
7th, really? Oh, sorry, Mike. 7th, really?
I can feel a bottom song coming from you.
Corey, I placed it at 11.
Really?
11th. And if you want to explain why you placed it at 7th, I will gladly want to hear that.
Yeah, so I mean, it was definitely a song at first that if you didn't really get what it was about, you weren't gonna like it at first. And me not being a fan of The Weeknd, not necessarily not a fan, but I haven't really dived into his older stuff like
Yeah.
you have.
Yeah.
I didn't really think off first listen it was that great. But as I got into the lyrics and kind of, you know, dived into how deep of a song it was and kind of where it's placed in this album, I think it's perfectly placed in the album for the conceptual part of it. It's just, yeah, it's just a very deep song, and it felt like an extension of the last song. So I think like it's really placed perfect with "Is There Someone Else," which is the top song for both of us. And I feel like it really was a good song to put after that, and I think that's what kind of led into where I have it at. But yeah, why do you have it at 11th?
Yeah, so let me start off. I agree with like a few points you made, like having it after "Is There Someone Else," because the beat kind of just transitions into it, slows down a little bit. It's mainly The Weeknd giving these vocals and talking about this girl and talking about such more also. But comparing it as a song to everything else on the album, I don't really find myself listening to it. I don't think I skip it, but I sometimes do. I mean, like when I'm listening to the album fully, I won't skip it. But when I kind of have The Weeknd on, I'll skip it. It's like even though I have it at 11th, it's probably one of the only skips on the album for me.
Really?
Yeah, and that's kind of a bold claim, especially since how high you have it. But I just didn't really find the appeal as much as others. I really do understand how deep lyrically it is, and I just didn't like it sonically. I think that was my biggest issue. Even though it continues the beat from "Is There Someone Else," which is like one of my favorite Weeknd productions now, it kind of strips it down. And I get that's what it's trying to do. I just don't find it,
Yeah, I mean,
fascinating.
I get what you're saying there, 100%.
No, we're beefing about it. We're beefing.
Psych. Ranking
Fuck
11
you.
is terrible. But no, that yeah, I mean, it's definitely 7 through 11 through me could be very interchangeable. I mean, I could see myself ranking this anywhere from 7 to 11, but I ranked it above songs like "How Do I Make You Love Me," "Sacrifice," "Here We Go Again," just personally because of how deep of a connection I build off of it as I listen to it more and more. So
It's pretty ballsy. I do like that decision. I do like that though. I like how you enjoy that song, and that's perfectly fine. Like there's nothing wrong with that. All right, moving on to number 12. We're including the song, right? I'm pretty sure we are. "Every Angel Is Terrifying."
yes,
All right,
we'll go ahead and put that at 13 for me.
I'll put that at 12 actually.
So if this is the biggest what if of the whole album,
Yep.
the first minute and 30 or whatever it was had so much potential, and you could feel it. You could feel the drop coming. You could feel the heat, Weeknd verse or chorus or whatever it was, and then that was it. I mean, it was just an ad.
Yeah.
I'm not hating on it, but I am hating on it because
No, I get it. I get
that
it.
song went from all the way up here
Definitely.
and then just shot to the bottom of my rankings just because of how it was just such a big what if. I mean, it could have been
Literally the
top.
radio. It's the radio, dude.
Yeah.
Public radio does that crap to you. You're about to hear a good song, then bam, ad. And that's kind of why I have it at 12th. I wouldn't put it at the bottom of my list. I have another song there that I think deserves to be there, but I really do like hearing The Weeknd's voice as like a radio host. Like I don't know, it was different. You don't really hear him talk a lot because he doesn't do interviews. He doesn't really just use his regular voice. And just kind of hearing him doing that, adding some comedic value to this kind of dark album, I kind of found it enjoyable. I still listen to it occasionally. I might skip it. I might not. It just depends on my mood. But I really do feel you with the disappointment part. I feel like that build-up that I was about to have, it was about to drop into a crazy song. And then bam, ad, like out of nowhere. Talking about the afterlife, which is rumored to be The Weeknd's next album, That's another thing I kind of, like about it. Like, not a lot of people noticed at the first listen. We kind of didn't either, Until The Weeknd dropped a tweet himself talking about, hey.
There's going to be a third album,
Yeah,
pretty much.
And everyone picked up on it. And I don't know, when I picked up on that tweet, I kind of listened to the song more and the ad more. And it just kind of grew on me more. So, yeah, that's why I have it at 12th. Still, you really can't compare it to any other song in this album other than one for me. So, yeah.
Do you think that this is obviously a big what if it didn't turn or transition into an ad and it was a full-on song like any of the other songs, do you think it would have been top 5 for you? Because, I mean, that first minute 30 was arguably, like, the best minute 30 of any minute 30 on the album.
Yeah, I mean, that is a what if. I don't know. I don't know how it would have went from there because we didn't hear it. An ad cut us off, but I did like that minute 30 a lot, just especially that build up that ends with that ad. I feel like that would have been crazy. I wouldn't say it might have been my top 5 because I think my top 5 solidified with the songs there, but maybe like between a 9-6 range. It just depends on how what happened after that ad. We didn't hear it, so
yeah, I think my top 5 is definitely solidified. I definitely would have considered it. I mean, depending on the verse after that.
Yeah,
I definitely could have seen it in my top 5, but
all right. Is that it for Every Angel is Terrifying?
yes, sir.
All right, we got track number 13. Don't Break My Heart. Where'd you have this placed at?
I had this 12th.
You want to hear why I placed that? The track number 13 is my least favorite song from the album.
So, I mean, we just interchanged those two songs.
Yep.
I just don't feel like we got a lot out of this song. I mean,
Definitely not.
nothing really stood out to me vocally, conceptually. I mean, I can see what the lyrics were intended to be about.
Yeah.
But in terms of me just listening to it as a song, I will not really go back and revisit this album unless I'm going through the album start to finish again.
Oh yeah, definitely. And I feel like it's just an album track, and that's nothing bad. Like it's still, if I'm listening to the album, I'll listen to it. I won't skip it.
Yeah, 100%.
But listening to it by itself, I don't think I'll ever find myself doing that. I just don't find the track as impressive as others on the album. It's still a decent song. I wouldn't say it's good or great. I think it's decent. The chorus is somewhat catchy. He always finds a way to have a catchy melody for the chorus or a catchy hook, something like that. I do like the concept still. Like, obviously, this is one of my favorite, like, concept albums to drop recently. So, I'm going to like a lot of the song's concepts and what they're trying to say. And, I don't know, this track just didn't hit me as the other ones did.
Yeah, I 100% agree. And I kind of wanted to ask you, was your top 5 kind of based off of how it fit into the album or how it would have fit on, like, a random playlist, like, or both?
Very good question. I
mean, personally, I was kind of looking at it as, can I put these songs in a random playlist and still love it for what it is on top of how it fit in the album? And I think that's why I kind of put these 5. So Gasoline, Take My Breath, Best Friend, Is There Someone Else, and Out of Time, where I put them. I mean, that's why I feel like
our lists are kind of similar.
Yeah, I mean, is that why you have that kind of similar top 5? Is that why you put those 5 songs?
Yeah, I didn't really think about it like that originally, but after looking at my list again, hearing you mention that, my top 5, I can listen in any playlist. Like,
do we have the same top 5? I mean, not in order, but
I think we have the same songs: Best Friends, Gasoline, Out of Time, Take My Breath, and Is There Someone Else?
Yeah, 100%.
So we have the same top 5, just kind of interchanged. But yeah, no, I can see myself just listening to the songs by himself. And they're really good songs. They're impressive songs, and they also fit amazingly into the album. So, like, I think the only exception might be Take My Breath. I feel like that's meant to be a radio hit, and it's a good song. I won't take that away from it. But, yeah, I definitely could see myself listening to these in a playlist. And that originally wasn't how I, like, intended to rank these tracks. I tried to do it sonically, vocally, and, like, conceptually. But it just turns out to be like that because, I listen to a lot of artists, and I have separate, like, playlists filled with a bunch of different artists. So, that's just kind of how I am.
Yeah, I think you could make a completely different list if you based it off of a certain category.
Yeah.
I think both of our lists were meant to be kind of combining all of those concepts and all those parts and really just putting it into a top list out of the 13 tracks. But yeah, we can go on to the next track if you are ready.
Yeah, I'm ready. We got track 14, I Heard You're Married. Now, where did you place this one, Corey?
If you literally just look at this song and you don't listen to it and you see Lil Wayne's in it, you think, oh, this is definitely a top 5 song.
Yeah.
It's just not the case here.
Sadly.
I have it 11th.
I have it at 10th.
So, I mean, yeah, we both agree that this is a very underwhelming song overall.
That's the word for it. Exactly, underwhelming.
And if you take out, I have 2 main parts that kind of contribute to why it's not last.
Yeah.
The Weeknd's vocals in the chorus.
Definitely.
I Heard You Married Girl.
Same for me.
And then just the fact that the Lil Wayne's so fun to listen to and what he's saying lyrically, even if it makes no sense at all, it's so intriguing to listen to.
Yeah.
I mean, if you cancel out those 2, I mean, what's the point?
What's the point of this track?
Yeah.
No, I agree. I mean,
There's no purpose for Lil Wayne on this song, in my opinion.
I agree with
At all.
that. And I feel like he just got him on the track yet again to get more views and get more listens. And don't get me wrong, I like Lil Wayne's verse. He does not fit into the album. He's just kind of thrown in there. It's just like you're having like a little gremlin walk into the recording booth and you're just like, spit a verse to my concept album. He's like,
He talks about killing your hubby.
No hubcap. That line itself might be why it's at 10th, I'll be honest. And the chorus. That line's just so funny. Listening to Lil Wayne's verse is just funny. Lil Wayne has had a great feature run last year, and
this was kind of a shit way to start it off for the 2022, I'd say.
It wasn't too bad. I feel like it just does not fit into the album.
If you can compare it to his run he was on last year.
You got a point, yeah, definitely.
Definitely not as good, but...
Just an underwhelming song in general. I think 10th is still a good place for it, in my opinion, and I feel like 11th for you is the same. Anything else you gotta say on I Heard You're Married?
No, sir.
All right, now we got technically the outro track, Less Than Zero.
Yeah, this may surprise you. I kind of told you that this was kind of a song, like the biggest grow in terms of growth. This was the song that grew on me the most. I have this at 6.
I have it at 6 too, dude.
Let's go.
No way.
So is that the only song we have in the same spot?
Yeah, I think maybe. I don't know. We'll have to like check through our list at the end.
We'll dive through track by track our list again and a little recap. But we both have it at 6th. Kind of tell me why you have it, where you have it.
Yeah, so I mean, like you said, this track it didn't really stand out to me other than the guitar at first. I didn't really get a grip on the chorus and the vocals and how good it was. I really think I slept on this track at first. Compared to everything else we listened to from this album, I kind of was just like, okay, this is an alright track. It's an alright outro, you know. I like the meaning behind it, but I don't see anything else to it. But after listening to it over and over again, it's just the most catchy song in the album, in my opinion. Like, one of the most catchiest, at least. I wouldn't say catchiest, but that's to take my breath for me, obviously. But it's such a more, like, uplifting track than most of the stuff on here. Even though he's talking about being less than zero. Just the sound sonically sounds like you're about to experience the dawn. Like, you know, like you're about to see the sunrise and about to kind of transition out of this dark time into something better, which is basically what the whole album's almost about. And we don't talk about Phantom Regret in here, but that talks about, you know, just accepting your mistakes in your past and moving on. That's another key thing in this album. And I feel like he's almost there with this track. Like, he's getting there. And even though he thinks he's less than zero, obviously, he's still getting there. That's what I love about this song, too. I kind of, like, comes here, and he's like, okay, I may be less than zero, but I gotta not worry about my past mistakes, my past actions, and just move on. And obviously, sonically, I love this song now. Like, the song grew on me heavily, and that's all I gotta say.
Yeah, I think something we really haven't even talked about is kind of the titles of a lot of these songs, and I think this is a title that really stands out to me, especially when you know the concept of the album, him kind of feeling like he's worthless in a lot of stuff, and the title Less Than Zero is really an album, or not an album, a song title that stood out to me. And I think originally why I didn't like it at first, maybe it's because towards the end of the album, maybe I was getting like, I'm done listening, like,
I'm tired. Yeah, I get that.
But
we did listen to it late at night too, so
yeah. But the more and more I listened to it, it grew and grew and grew on me, and I don't know if I could put it in the top 5. I'd maybe make an argument for being 5th over Gasoline. Probably not for a while, but definitely a song that had the biggest rise for me on my list, because originally I probably had it bottom 3 songs, maybe bottom 3 or 4 songs.
Yeah, definitely.
And it really shot up my list. Really good vocally, and the production's really good as well, so...
Yeah, I'm glad we agree on that one, because that's a song we both slept on, and we kind of just came to it and realized we actually did like it a lot more than everything else on the album, so it's great. But yeah, I just want to say before we kind of cut off here and talk about the list and get the statistical list done, this album's great. Like, just because we have a song at maybe 13th or 12th or 11th or in the bottom, doesn't mean we hate it.
Doesn't mean it's not good either. I mean,
definitely.
Dawn FM overall is... I'm not going to give a number rating, but it's great. It's really great. Probably amazing.
Yeah, no, I do have a number rating for it. For me, I'll talk about in the album review. But for now, you guys gotta wait. So yeah, we're gonna talk about our list and kind of get this statistical one done.
Suspense.
That's gonna be so loud in the video. Oh my god. But yeah, we'll meet you guys in a second.
So on to our statistical rankings. What we did is combined our personal lists together and averaged them out and made a consensus list between the both of us. So tied for 12th, we had Don't Break My Heart and Every Angel is Terrifying. At number 11, I Heard You're Married. At 10, Starry Eyes. Tied for 7th, we had Here We Go Again and How Do I Make You Love Me. And Sacrifice. We had 3 songs there. At 6th, we had Less Than Zero. At 5th, we had Gasoline. 4th, we had Best Friends. 3, we had Take My Breath. 2, Out of Time. And at our number 1 spot, we both agreed on Is There Someone Else.
Nice.
So how do you feel about that consensus ranking? I mean, it's pretty
good. Obviously, it's going to combine both of our opinions, and it's pretty fair to do that. I think it's good. I think it's right. I wouldn't say right, but for our review, it's right. It's pretty accurate.
Yeah, I don't think it really switches it up too much. Obviously, the number 1 song on our consensus is wrong because it should be Out of Time because that's the best song in the album. But whatever, I'll let it be.
Ridiculous. Fucking ridiculous.
Come on, I had to make a case for it.
Out of Time's a great song. Okay, that's all I'll say.
Yeah, 100%. Is There
definitely.
Someone Else is a great song. That's why it's number 1 on our thing.
Yeah.
But you guys are probably wondering why we left off the intro, the outro, and the Quincy interlude. We do want to do something with that here and just kind of rank or talk about those 3 individually. So if you want to do that now, let's go ahead and get into it.
All right. Well, my number 1 is Phantom Regret.
100%. I think the outro is probably one of the better tracks on the whole album.
Yeah, and surprisingly, we didn't include it. If we had to include it in our personal list, where would you put it?
I'd probably put it in my top 5. I mean, just conceptually, it's top.
Oh, definitely.
Top 2, and it's not. It's not 2. So
yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
I mean, it's literally the best song conceptually, and you literally have Jim Carrey literally saying it. I mean,
Jim Carrey spitting bars. It's literally what we talked about in the podcast, dude.
Spitting bars. Anyways, yeah, I'd probably have it top 2, and it's not 2. But where would you have it?
Top 1, so it'll be 1.
I mean,
no, it's the perfect outro to this concept album.
And it literally wakes you up because, like I talked about earlier, I had a couple songs on here towards the end of the album. I was like, I just want this to be over. And then you hear the outro with Jim Carrey, and it literally wakes you up and it gets you back into the zone with what the whole album is meant to be about.
And that final line, you have to be heaven to see heaven. That is the perfect way to end your album.
And knowing what we know now is even more of a freaking build up. Oh my gosh, how is this trilogy going to be interpreted?
Definitely.
But what would you put second? Would you put the intro or would you put the Quincy interlude?
I really did like the Quincy interlude. I mean, it's a great story. It's a very heartfelt story, and it transitions perfectly into the next song. But I'd probably have to put Dawn FM because it's also just a great intro. I mean, when you have The Weeknd performing this way, you have the birds chirping. It sets the scene perfectly. And Jim Carrey comes in. He's the radio host, dude. He owns this shit. It's an amazing intro and really got me hyped after hearing that for what the album had to have in store.
Yeah, I think we have no differences here. I think Dawn FM, the intro track, is number 2 when you look at the list of these 3, and then nothing against the Quincy interlude. It's a great overall package of intro, outro, interlude here for this album.
Definitely,
the whole concept.
Yeah, no, I can't really. I don't think anyone could crap on the Quincy interlude. It's such a personal story, heartfelt story. Just because we put it as our last for the skits doesn't mean it's bad. None of these skits are bad. They're all definitely amazing, almost near perfect. So.
Yeah, 100%.
And they're really hard to rank because they're all so close. But yeah, that's definitely how I feel about it. Alright guys, thank you so much for watching this video. Like, share, and subscribe, please. We're desperate.
Yeah, so we have a YouTube channel up and running, so make sure you share that with your friends, like and subscribe like Aaron mentioned. And
we're desperate. I also mentioned that.
Okay. But yeah, I mean, we love doing this. We're going to do this consistently throughout the year and hopefully for years to come.
Yeah, for sure, man.
This is definitely a passion for both of us, and we are very excited to do this. So please come share this with your friends and continue to support us. We love giving content out, and we hope we can really build a big fan base with this and kind of go somewhere with it. So
and definitely just expand our music knowledge, like we say every outro. I mean, like, this is something we're looking forward to, and we're looking forward to keep going with it. So yeah,
absolutely. Thanks again, guys. We'll see you next week with our Corday review, kind of get into that, and Earl Sweatshirt. So thank you guys.
Yes, sir. Have a good one, guys.